But this thumbnail boy, we got Mirrorjade, the Ice Blade Dragon. Why is this such a good goddamn card? Well, it needs to use an Albaz as well as a Fusion Synchrotic Z's or Link monster, so basically any extra deck monster. You can only control one of it per turn, and then once per turn, quick effect, you can send a fusion that lists Fallen of Albaz from your extra deck to the graveyard as material, and then banish one monster on the field. Quick effect, by the way, non-targeting, and you cannot use it the turn after, but that doesn't matter because you're probably not going to use this on your turn. So you summon this on your opponent's turn, you use its effect, then the next turn you don't use it, then the turn after that you still have your interruption. And this last part of this card is super bonkers, but basically, and listen up people, listen up. When this card leaves the field by an opponent's card, so if it's basically kind of like Ray summoning condition from the graveyard, right? It's really annoying. You can destroy all your opponent's cards during the end phase. Now, listen up, the end phase. I'm telling you people. The end phase is really important here. So the reason why the end phase is so freaking important is because it doesn't matter if your opponent can just like if you destroy your opponent's stuff immediately, because then they could potentially rebuild their board. But in end phase, they can't do as much unless they have protection, such as, let's say they're playing Sun Avalon, right? Then if they had Sunseed Sowing, so if they had this in the graveyard, they could protect their Link monsters from being destroyed by banishing it from the graveyard. But if they don't have that kind of effect, this thing will go off without a hitch, and your opponent's monsters are gone. Really good, and they have to deal with this if they want to keep their board. So it's really good at baiting interruptions, it's really good at just clearing your opponent's boards and being an immediate threat on field. So really good card, and while it is an Albaz card that you might think, well, that's not very good, there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to play it. First of all, cards that use Albaz when they're sent to the graveyard, let's see. Titaniclad, if it's sent to the graveyard during the end phase, it can search for some Dogmatica stuff, so if you're playing Dogmatica as an Albaz, pretty good mix, honestly. If you're playing this over here, you can then just summon a Despia, so you could summon something like a Luber, the Aluber Boober of Duber, as I'm coding, is it the Kali effect? I think I'm coding the Kali effect here. So you can get some free searches with that. You can have Albion sent to the graveyard, which you can then set branded spell traps from your deck. Really good for interruption. For example, setting a branded in red. Where's the card, by the way? I'm trying to find it. Branded in red. Yeah, over here. Branded in red, which is a quick play spell that lets you fusion summon, essentially. Pretty damn neat, I would say so myself. But the real kicker as to why the Mirrorjade is so good is because it's super easy to make. Because out of all these potential new cards, we're probably going to get this thing. Now, this realistically should have been in the thumbnail. Branded Fusion. You cannot use this with Verte. I need to preface this, but it's too good. You don't need to use Verte with this. It is good enough as is. So it says, fusion summon a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz, okay, good so far, as material from your extra deck, using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion material. Unlike Shut-All Fusion, right, this doesn't need to be done going second. This is already immediately live. What if you draw it, and because it's a branded card, mind you, if you have a Luber Boober of Duber, right, the Aluber over here can search it on normal summon. So instantly this card is just absolutely bonkers since it's super easy to search, right? And you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters the turn you activate this card, and you can only activate one of this per turn. Important, you can only activate one of this. So if the activation is negated and it is destroyed, if you have another copy or if you can retrieve it, you can just use it again. I always need to emphasize that if it says you can only activate one of this card per turn, and if it's a good card at that, then oh boy, it's absolute gold. Because, for example, if your opponent just negates your shit, right, just use it again. And this has been very relevant with things like Cyber Emergency, when you're playing Drytron or something, because I played it at one point. But anyways, really easy to search card, really easy to access. Summons Mirrorjade, which, well, okay, sure, you need a fusion monster though. How are you gonna summon this thing really easily? Well, spoiler alert, you can just, first of all, with the branded fusion, you could summon something like an Albion, right? So why would you want to summon Albion off of this instead of Mirrorjade? Well, Albion's effect is that if it's fusion summoned, you can fusion summon again, summoning a level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck using by banishing fusion materials from your hand, field, or graveyard. So you banish the Albion, you banish the Albaz from your graveyard, and then you can make your Mirrorjade, which is this beautiful motherfucker on the thumbnail. Absolutely incredible. So already really worth it, but we're not done yet because there's easier ways to access this. Tri-Brigade Mercurier over here. So this is a really good card to use in branded Tri-Brigade because that is actually a deck. Once this engine becomes live, once branded fusion, this absolutely dog-broken card is in the game. And it basically says, when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material, quick effect, send this card from hand or field to the graveyard and negate the effect. And this can then be used as material for Tri-Brigade link summons. So I think you can see the synergy over there. Next, after that, if this card is banished, you can add a Fallen of Albaz or monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Easily incredible card because you can just search Branded Fusion once you use it as link material for your Tri-Brigades, right? Really goddamn neat. So good card, one or two of, honestly. And then after that, here's another card that hopefully we get because this thing over here is absolutely nuts in Branded. So over here is Springans Kit. Not to be confused with Springans or Tri-Brigades, it's a branded support, right? That's what it's meant to do. If you have a fusion that lists Fallen of Albaz as material on your field or graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Cool, it's basically kind of like Ecclesia, but its second effect is where if it's normal or special, you can add a branded spell trap that is banished or in your deck or graveyard, and then place a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck. So this kind of acts sort of like a Bear Brum, if you don't know what this card does. Basically, Bear Brum lets you add a Tri-Brigade trap, and then after that, place a card from your hand to the deck, I believe. This lets you search for Revolt. Springan's Kit operates in a very similar way, but this can recur things from your graveyard, from your banished zone, or it can just let you search for your branded fusion. So it really just lets you keep on going or start things. It's an all-in-one card. It's a starter, it's a recovery card, absolutely powerful. You just need to have some prior cards in hand already to use this card. So it's not a one-card starter in the true sense of the name, right? So already, really goddamn nuts. I'm saying that a lot, but really, realistically speaking, I'm having an absolute mega jizz just looking at this card list. So we have all this stuff. We have some other branded cards. I don't think I'll read these, honestly. They don't seem like... I'm just too lazy to. We are also getting Lubellion, which is worth noting, I think. I've seen this card in some branded decks. It says if it's fusion summoned, you can discard one card, fusion summon a level 8er. Okay, so basically it does the same thing as the Albion, but it helps you recur cards a lot easier. As long as you have a card to discard, this card then can just let you recur whatever you use with the branded fusion, so you have more longevity. So really, if you want to use Albion and you don't think the duel will last too long, then go ahead. But this is a better choice if you want to keep everything just going along smoothly, and if you also have cards to activate on discard, so pretty decent, right? Otherwise, yeah, it locks you into fusions, but that doesn't matter because you're already locked into them using branded fusion. So this is the most chunky one.